Hi, I'm going to just sort of settle in so we can start. What am I going to talk about today? I have no idea. I'm going to wait for it to be downloaded. Basically, what I'm finding recently is a lot of people are fearful. And if you watch the news, I don't watch the news. Let me just point that out right now. I do not watch the news because anything I need to know, that I really need to know, will come to me eventually. And the problem that we have is when we're watching the news, there's so much negativity coming through. There is so much stirring. There is so much hysteria going on, that it unsettles us, it unnerves us, it puts us in fear. And the thing is that when a population or a populace is fearful, they're easy to control. They're easy to control. So my job, and I'm absolutely hand on heart when I say this, I have an objective. I've also got a smoothie on my chin. Never mind, I've got an objective. And my objective is to teach as many people as I possibly can to love themselves. Because when we are full of love, it overflows. And when it overflows, there's no neediness. When each and every one of us on the planet loves ourselves, there won't be any war. There won't be disagreements. There won't be some people have got more than others. So if every single one of us loves ourselves, there'll be no war, there'll be no need, because there won't be any greed. Listen to that for a catch line. So I want to talk to you about fear. Let's start with that. And if you don't know already, I'm running a workshop on the 5th of November. I'm thinking probably to do a live on the night that the kids are all going to be out trick-or-treating. Probably isn't the best plan, but here I am doing it. So, excuse me, because I'm running this on YouTube at the same time. So the voice is coming back to me from YouTube. So I've just muted it. I'm hoping it records properly. So fear. We all have fear. What is fear? Fear is a primal response, a primal thing that we need. So if you think about us millions of years ago, when we were running around on the savannah, where we met a new person or we met an animal, we needed to have a certain amount of fear to keep us alert so that we know whether we've got to fight, flee, fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn. Fawn is the sort of, I'm going to please everybody, I'm going to make sure everybody's okay, because that's also a protective mechanism. So fear is a fundamental part of our makeup. Now, to become free, to be able to create the life that you want, you need to be able to, so if you imagine there's a little umbrella of fear, you need to be able to do that and be prepared to get a bit wet. That could be interpreted in all sorts of ways. Don't take it the wrong way. So think about fear. Fear will always be there. It's part of our makeup, okay? What we do is we make it wrong. When we have that uncomfortableness, oh gosh, that's frightening or what have you, we make it wrong. What we need to do is actually lean into fear. So, into fear? I'm going to have to look that one up and do some juggling around with that word. So if you think about fear being constantly there, that thing will control you. It will control the outcome of everything that you do. It will stop you doing the things that you want to do until you step out from under it. So I'll give you an example. Recently happened to me. There's a song that I wanted to sing on behalf of a friend of mine who died in front of a whole group of people who were singers, and it was about a Jewish concentration camp, and it's a very beautiful song by Cook Boys and Simpson, and it's called The Hill of Little Shoes if you want to look it up and listen to it. And my reason was to sing for Robert. This is a man who died that nobody'd said goodbye to because he died during COVID. So I got up to sing, and as I got up to sing, I noticed or remembered that there were 3 Germans at the one end of the room. So my whole body went, no, so fear. No, you can't do it. It's a bad thing for you to do. You're going to upset them. You're going to, my dialogue started to go. Now, To overcome fear, you need to get into the why. When you get into the why of what it is that you want, what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it, what the outcomes are, then fear, you can step out from underneath it. I should have bought a little umbrella, shouldn't I? Just left it there as a little illustration of fear. So you can get out from underneath it when you know your why. So during me standing up to sing, I wasn't scared of singing. That doesn't worry me. It doesn't frighten me. Even if I go flat, don't care. If I forget the words, it doesn't bother me because I'm not frightened. I don't really fear people's criticism, but I did fear the response from these Germans when I was going to sing a song about concentration camp. Could be very pointed, could be very uncomfortable. So I listened to the dialogue in my head for a split second and then went into my why. And this is the tip to overcoming fear. So my why was to sing this song for Robert, to remember Robert. So I sang the song, and it's a beautiful song. And as I finished, I looked around the room, and probably 25% of the people in that room were crying because the song is incredibly poignant. That wasn't my aim, to make people cry. My preference would be to make people laugh. But the point of the thing was that I could actually sing this song for Robert, and I sang it with such passion and with such meaning for Robert that it touched every single one of the people in that room, and a lot of them took it even further and went into tears. So fear is a thing that is just going to try and keep you safe, but it's not always right. So where does fear come from? Let's start from the beginning. Am I going too fast? I'm with people sort of commenting on here, the roll goes so fast for me, I don't comment on it. Reason being, because I haven't got my glasses on and I'm too vain to put my glasses on. And secondly, I don't read that quickly because I'm dyslexic. That hasn't stopped me from doing anything. I was brought up in a Catholic school. Oh my God, educated by nuns in an academic school. Now, if you didn't pass your exams, you were an absolute failure. So I failed all the way through school, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I did carry a sack load of guilt around with me because of the nuns and because it was a private school. Blah, I'm going to go on about the amount of money that was spent on me. So let's talk about where fear that runs in our subconscious in the background comes from. So if we start from the beginning, so we're born. When we're born, we are absolutely and utterly perfect. We are totally enlightened. We know everything. We are the wisest creatures on the planet. And we are absolutely at surrender. Now, actually, that's where we are aiming to get to in our adult life, if you allow yourself to do it. But I go off, for those of you who've seen me live before, you know that I go off at tangents. So I'm going to try and stay here because I only want to do 30 minutes to 45 minutes. So to start off with, we're born perfect. And we are totally surrendered. We don't realize that we are separate from this mouse. We don't realize that we're separate from the walls. We don't realize that we're separate from our mom or the caregivers that we've given. For me, I wasn't brought up by my mother. I was brought up by adopted parents. I was given away when I was 6 weeks old. Now, what happens is when we discover that we're not part of our caregivers, I'm going to use that term because I don't want to offend anybody. Now, that's something else I could go off at a tangent on, but I'm not going to. I'm not always PC, and there's no reason why I should be PC because I don't have any disrespect for anybody. But sometimes my language will fall and upset somebody and offend somebody. Now, if you know for certain that I'm trying to offend you, then you're allowed to be offended. But if you know it's a slip, your offense is your problem. Okay, now I've got off at a tangent. So what happens is we are this beautiful, born, perfect, wonderful little being. And for some of us, trauma happens earlier than others. I know that one. And what we realize at some point is that the person who's going to give us care, the person who should feed us, look after us, make sure we're safe, at one point in time isn't available when we expect them to be available. And it's like a... So that's our first trauma. Oh, we can't have, or I can't have my needs met at the time when I want them met. Shoot, there's something wrong. So then we start to look outside. We don't think about it just being us. We start to realize that we're separate. We're not actually separate, but this is how the ego starts to create itself. So our ego is our identity. And a lot of people think that the ego is a bad thing. The ego isn't a bad thing. It's this. It's keeping us safe. So we develop our identity in relation to the response and feedback that we get from our caregivers. So I'll give you an example. We also make incredibly stupid decisions because we're only 2, or we're only 1, or we're 5 or 7. So we make decisions about who we are based on the experience that comes to us in relation to the experience, but we don't necessarily get the answers right. So if I give you an example, some of you have heard this. So you've got little Johnny. Little Johnny's worked out how to turn up the radio. He's got a song that's come on and he loves it. And he's there and he's giving it large and he's having a blissful time. He's just absolutely in his element. He's in the flow. He loves it. He's in bliss. He's totally connected to everything. And his mother comes shrieking into the living room. Will you sit down and shut up? Johnny's knocked out of his reverie. Ooh, Johnny's too young to put any rationale in place. Oh, Mommy's Auntie Maud died 2 days ago and she needs to be quiet. She's sad. Oh, Mommy's got a deadline, so maybe I could be quiet so that Mommy can sort out her deadline. He's 2. He can't do this. So what his conclusion is, boom, that reverie, that part of me that is just joyful and blissful is wrong because it stung when I went in there. And this happens to us all the way through our childhood. We don't come out of childhood unscathed. And the other thing is that if we have a perfect childhood, it's still rubbish because we can't deal with a perfect world. And I give you an example that Gabor Mate came up with because he teaches people with addiction through trauma. He was asking people in the audience, he said, I want somebody who struggles with trauma, struggles with addiction, who hasn't had a traumatic childhood. Somebody who has not had trauma in their childhood. And this one lady gently put her hand up and said, I had a beautiful childhood. I had a really happy childhood. So he started to question her. Now, this is where kids misinterpret, and it's not their fault. It really isn't their fault. So she had two parents who adored each other. Absolutely adored each other. They were blissfully in love with each other. And she, as a little one, misinterpreted it as she was surplus to requirements. She wasn't needed. Now, that actually wouldn't be the case from 2 loving parents. But as a child who maybe needed their attention at one time when they were in embrace or they were kissing each other, couldn't get their attention, would interpret that I'm not loved, I don't need to be here, I am surplus to requirements. So can you understand how little kids can make very strange decisions in their head according to the information that they have at their fingertips? Now, the thing is, this is the thing. The thing is that when we get knocked out of our perfection, I'm going to keep using that term, when we get knocked out of our perfection, a fear comes in that might happen again. So we go and lock that little part of us away, the one that got really knocked, really hurt. So Jamie Cato talks about it as we're born into a 1,000-room mansion. By the time we get into full adulthood, we're living in a 2-bedroom bungalow because we clip off a part of ourselves. That part was wrong. Remember Johnny giving it large and what have you. That part of him, he'll snip off and he'll put in a bedroom, in a locked room. So he's just looking at the world like this. This little part of him that was 2 gets locked away at the age of 2 and stays there all of his life at the age of 2, vigilant, waiting for the same sting, the same trigger, I'll use the term trigger, that caused that pain in the first place. So that's where our triggers come from, just to give a little aside. The triggers that we have stimulate a part of us that we've locked away that is looking out to keep us safe. So if you can imagine, we've got thousands of kids inside us in here. So we've had injuries that happened on the playground where kids have been mean to us. We've had a teacher who's shamed us in front of the class. We've been told off by mom for, I don't know, making too much noise like Johnny, or we're told off for not tidying our bedrooms, or we've not done well in school. You know, there's hundreds upon hundreds of these little kids inside. Oh God, I've got to be perfect. Oh my God, no, I've got to be tidy. Oh, all of this, that's where the inner critic comes from, because they will chat to you all the time. Oh, you can't do that. Oh no, what's they going to think about that? Oh, you can't do that. You've got to be perfect. You can't. Mind monkeys. That's why I'm called the singing zookeeper. Got a whole menagerie in there. We all have. So we have these little kids inside us going. So when Johnny, let's go back to Johnny, who was told off for dancing and making noise, goes to the school dance, and he's, I don't know what, 14 or 15, his immediate instinct, his connection to his pure and beautiful self is, I love that piece of music, I'm going to get up and dance. Bang, this little kid's going to go, stand on his shoulder, giving it, don't you dare do that. No, your legs are too long. No, your arms are too short. No, your blazer's a horrible colour. The girls are going to laugh at you. The boys are going to beat you up. So does he get up and dance? No, because the fear, this little mind monkey inside him has gone, I can't let you do that. Now, what we need to become is the kind, caring adult. And the way I teach you to retrieve these parts of us, because that's what they need. They stay in fear until we address the issues that they have. And then we invite them to come back. So imagine that you're like a big mummy chicken. You know, they shove all the babies underneath them, the little chicks underneath them. So you're imagining yourself as a kind, loving parent. You're inviting these parts of us back. And what we do is we identify the creature, the mind monkey, the little kid who is asking to come home. So they are all out there. The thing that they need is love. And what we feel in the Western world, and I'm going to say generally as humans, if we feel fear, it creates pain in us, emotional pain in us. If we feel pain, we naturally want to move away from it. You know, we're in a culture where if you've got a headache, you take a pill. We are in a culture where if it hurts, there's something wrong. That's not the case. If there's emotional hurt going on, there's feedback. There is feedback. That's all there is. And what the feedback is one of these going, oh, that's me. That's where I got hurt. And if you don't take notice of me, I'm hoping you can hear me through my fists. If you don't take notice of me, I will knock you out, you kind parent of me, kind, caring adult of me. I will literally knock you out and take over the bus. So I don't know whether you've ever noticed that I don't know, I'm going to use a fear of flying, for instance. I picked that out of the air. But you feel that you've got to grips with it and it's fine, great. And then you get to the airport, fine, great, you're doing ever so well. And then they call boarding. Ooh, and all of a sudden, you're back to where you were in fear. And that's just an example. I mean, it happens hundreds upon thousands of times in us. The child in us, if it feels that we are not the kind, caring adult, will knock us out, literally give us a sleeping draft and start to drive our bus. Now, we don't want a 2-year-old driving our bus. We don't want a 14-year-old driving our bus. We don't want an injured child who is driving the bus out of sheer panic and sheer terror. All they're trying to do is protect us, but from the naivety of a tiny child. So what we need to do is to find these children. Let me give you an exercise, okay? I'm going to do it as quickly as I can. Normally I'd spend a lot longer on this exercise. So if you can imagine that you're just about to go on stage, all right? Just check in with your body, because these kids live physically in us. They're not up here. They're not in our logical thinking, in our analytical mind. They're physically in our emotional body. They are in our body. So I want you just to, probably easier to do if you're shutting your eyes. Shut your eyes and just imagine that you're about to go out on stage. Feel your body. Is it clenching? Is it shrinking? Can you feel contraction? Now, if you don't feel contraction, that's lovely, because it means there's no fear there. So go and walk out on stage, all right, now. So you're all ready to give your speech, to whatever it is you're going to do, presentation, dance, doesn't matter what it is, but you're there. The auditorium is empty. And as you see people walking in, you see your mom and dad or your guardians. What's happened to your body now? Has it shrunk? Has it restricted? So now you see your siblings, if you've got siblings. Now you see cousins, aunts, uncles. Now what's happening to your body? Now you see your teachers from school, all of them, from junior school all the way up to senior school, lecturers as well. And they're all piling into the theatre. What's happening to your body? Are you now as willing to speak? Are you now as willing to perform as you were? What about schoolmates? What about your friends? What about colleagues? Just notice where the restrictions come in. Can you see restrictions? Give me a thumbs up or a heart or something if you notice the restrictions that were going on in your body at the time. I struggle with TikTok because there's always a delay, but it's interesting. There we go. Thank you. Brilliant. I can see responses. Brilliant. It's just that there's like a time delay and it's weird. I'm not used to it. So, what was I called the other day? A boomer. So here's a boomer dealing with tech. Okay, so just bear with me, all you young people out there. I wished I'd known what I know now when I was your age. So you can feel the restrictions. So you're standing on stage and you're seeing the people come in and you can feel the restriction. Don't panic. I'm not going to ask you to do your performance. But those restrictions are the responses in your body from many of these kids inside you that are constantly on a vigil to make sure that you're not getting damaged, you're not getting hurt. And they feel as if they know better. Now, I did some studying with William Whitecloud last year, I think it was, and he actually came out with a really good observation. In the Western world, we don't have a proper coming of age ceremony, because actually we don't need those little parts of us to look after us. We don't. We really, really don't, but they get in the way. But in a lot of cultures, particularly third world cultures, Aboriginal cultures, when a child comes of age or a woman comes into menstruation, when a boy is classed as the right age to be a man, they are set on a task. So they have to go out into the jungle alone, or they have to sleep in the bush for a week or what have you, but they are given a task. And what it does is it sort of sheds them from childhood into adulthood, so that these little parts of them no longer play, because they are being told by that younger person who's going into adulthood through this ceremony, whatever it is that they've got to do. It will be some task of endurance. It's never easy. It's never a bunch of flowers and a communion veil or whatever it is. It's always something quite difficult to do. But what happens is the kids inside that, I know this sounds weird, but if you can imagine, you've got a whole bloody school of them, all right? So you've got classrooms full of scared kids watching out. They're all looking to see if this young person transitions into adulthood without it being a problem. And that means that every single one of those kids will come up to them in fear whilst they're sitting out in the bush, or whether they are sitting in a sweat tent on their own for 3 days, whatever the task is. All of this stuff will come up to the surface. And this is what we need to do. We need to get these little kids up to the surface, because they are nothing to be ashamed of. They are things, they are parts of us that need to be loved. So if quite often, oh God, you're stupid, you can't do that, you can't write. So that's one of my big ones, because I'm dyslexic. To sit down and write something for me is like, oh, I can feel, but not so much now, because I've started to heal the little parts of me that have got so damaged for being scolded for having bad spelling, for being scolded for having bad punctuation, for being scolded for not putting the capital letters in the correct places and so on. She's calmed down. In fact, there's probably more than one, but she's calmed down because I've done this work on myself. So we need to, but the way the inner critic would talk about it, oh, you're stupid, you can't write anything, you've been there. And it's just a little echo from one of these injured parts of us. So what we need to do is call these little creatures out into the light. And even though you think that, oh God, I don't like her, I'll give you an example. One of my clients had a bereavement, a really bad bereavement quite a few years ago. And she didn't handle it very well a few years ago. And as her 10 years on, hates the part of her that didn't handle it very well. So what we needed to do, was to go in and find that part of her. She was an adult, because these things, you know, can appear as adults as well. So what we needed to do was go in and find the little part of her that was being scolded, you know, for being crass and not being sympathetic when this person had died. And we went and found her. She was scared. She was really, really scared. She wasn't crass. She was scared. She didn't understand how to react. She didn't understand the grief that was going on in her. She didn't know how to respond to the people around her. She didn't know. So she froze. So the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn is sort of, oh, please, I'll look after you, make sure I'm all right. Obsequiousness. We know people like that. People pleasers tend to be people pleasers because of fear. I'm not going to go on to do people pleasing right now. If you're interested in learning about people pleasing and how to let it go, if you go to my bio, go to my courses, there's a tutorial on there with a really powerful meditation, which will actually take you through a quantum leap where you actually let go of the people pleasing aspect of yourself. So if you want to go and check it out, go and have a look. Yeah, there's going to be some commercialism in here because I get clients. I need to get clients on board who could work with me. And if I don't show up, who the hell's going to come to me? So yeah, I'm going to pitch from time to time. I'm a lad. All right. So we need to turn and face, we need to turn around and be compassionate to these beautiful parts of us. So what I'd like to do, I'm going to do a meditation in probably 5 minutes, okay? I'm not going to go for questions because I haven't got my glasses on. I can't read what's going on there. So I'm going to promote my workshop on the 5th of November as well. I've picked really crud dates. So, you know, in effect, Halloween night. And then in the UK, the 5th of November is Guy Fawkes night, bonfire night. So a lot of people will be out celebrating that night as well. So please come and join. I'm just about to tell you about the workshop on the 5th. Okay. The workshop on the 5th, okay, is 6 o'clock in the evening UK time. All right. So it's fairly accessible to most people apart from on the eastern side of the planet. And we are going to be talking about taming the inner critic. Now, I'm hoping that you've been here long enough to understand that these little injured parts of us come up as the inner critic. Oh, you can't dance, you shouldn't do that, they're going to tell you off, they're going to beat you up, what are people going to think? I'm hoping I've explained that well enough. What we're going to do in real time is actually get some of these kids up to the surface. Now, the thing is, they are running the show in the subconscious. So that means we're not even aware of them. So let me give you a very quick exercise to do. In fact, you can do it when the videos, when the live is finished. And what I want you to do is take 2 pieces of paper. The first piece of paper, write down the type of dialogue that your inner critic says. So, oh God, you're stupid. Oh my God, you're fat. Oh my God, you can't do anything. Oh my God, nobody loves you. Oh my God, you're not worthy, blah, blah, blah. So think about what the inner critic says to you and write it out that way. And the inner critic will always point to you. And it near your don't be stupid, look at you. Okay, it's that type of dialogue that we can hear coming in from the inner critic. Remember, it's fear. That's all it is. The inner critic is being very clumsy in the way it's trying to protect you. Then the second piece of paper, I want you to put everything that's been written down as, oh God, you're stupid, or you're blah, 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 into I am, or me. So turn it into it being you. I don't want you to wallow in it. That's really important, okay? You're being objective about it. You're writing it out on paper, because that piece of paper where it says, I am stupid, I am this, I am that, that is what's running your show. It has made decisions before you've even made decisions. You think that you've made a decision voluntarily, but you haven't. The decisions have been made in the subconscious before it even gets to consciousness for you to make a decision. How many people self-sabotage? They make a decision that they think is a really good idea, and then it goes all tits up, because somewhere in the background there's an unworthiness, or I'm not good enough program, one of these playing around in the background. So on the 5th of November, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the first half of it will be doing a little bit more understanding, more of this, but in more detail, so that you can really get it to connect with you, so you can start to identify where your own patterns are without criticism and without blame. That's quite hard to do, but that's what's needed. Because remember, the decisions that these little children made that come up as the inner critic and come up as fear were made in innocence. And the chances are those little kids were terrified themselves, were hurt themselves, were damaged themselves. So with compassion. So we're going to identify the programs that come up in you that you're not aware of, that get in the way of you creating the life that you want. The fear hat. I were to get one of those little umbrellas that just sits up like that. I'm not gonna, but okay. So, and I'm going to teach you how to have the fear move out of the way and still continue. Okay. We're also going to be using something called the compassion key. And the compassion key is finding these little parts of us, these terrified little parts of us, and go in and use the compassion key. And when we use the compassion key, which is very beautiful, it's very sweet, it's very simple, those parts of us calm down and they start to trust, and they start to relax, and they start to trust, and they start to relax. So that's all they need to know, is that you, the kind, caring adult, is going to keep them safe. And the fact of the matter is that when they're running the show, they don't keep you safe, because they're all doing it from the perspective of a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old or whatever. So we're going to bring some of these little part personalities up, and we are going to use the compassion key so that they can calm down. And you will experience in real time, as it is happening, letting go of some of the stuff that gets in the way of what you want to achieve. You will feel a sense of completeness, a sense of contentment. You will feel how start to settle back into your body in a really yummy, I haven't got the words, really gentle, contented way. Contentment is a really good term for it. Now, I've got some bad news for you. These little creatures, there aren't one or two, there's hundreds of them. And it's a continual process of, if you can imagine how a snake grows, okay, the snake, when it gets bigger, has to shed its skin. And we have to keep doing that. We have to keep letting go and recalling these little injured parts of us to ourselves. So it's a continual process, And it gets to a point where it gets quite delightful. It gets really, really sweet, because we start to see the play between the ego, our identity, the I. You know why Rastafarians say I and I? I've gone off at a tangent, don't panic, I do this. You know why Rastafarians say I and I? Because I, they're talking about, is the ego, and I is the part of us that is observing the ego. So just have a think for a second. I want you to just, I don't know, sit still just for 30 seconds and look at the thoughts that come into your mind. Have you got them running left, right, and center? Your little mind won't shut up, okay? Now, with those thoughts, are you observing the thoughts? Have a think about it. What do you think? The second question is, are those thoughts observing you? No, they're not. Those thoughts can't observe you. Those thoughts just make a racket, and that's all they are. So I'm also going to teach you on the 5th of November how to step back and observe your thoughts rather than be taken over by them, rather than being controlled by them. Because it's one of the biggest mistakes we make is we think our thinking is real. Yeah, we need to have some rationale. We need to work out how to cross the road without a car hitting us. We need to be able to, I don't know, look at a shopping list and go and do our shopping. We need to be able to understand how to build a bridge. You don't, but you know what I mean? We need the rationale. The rationale is a very, very good aspect of our personality. It's also the thing that's caused the most shit on the planet. I mean, destroying the planet, people with rationale. But the majority of our thinking is not needed, particularly when it's emotional thinking. So I'm going to teach you how to step behind the emotional thinking. So if you're interested in joining the workshop, where I guarantee in real time, you will let some of this stuff, some of this fear go, so that you can move forward. And I'm going to use a lot of different modalities. I'm going to be using some energetic work. I don't talk about energetic work on my TikToks, but I am going to use some energetic work. NLP, which I'm NLP master practitioner, we're going to be using some of that, and that's fun. And we're going to be using mindfulness techniques and so on. So it'll be a very deep, very gentle meditation on the second half of the workshop, where you will come out of that going, oh, that feels good. Okay, I promise you, I promise you. So if you're interested in joining the workshop, and I really hope that you do, because the more faces that I see staring back at me, the more pleasure I get out of my work. And of course, I've got an ego the size of Britain. You know, I want people to look at me, but I also want people to learn. I want people to get this stuff younger than I got it. I didn't start to learn this stuff really fundamentally until I was about 56. So I'm sure I'm going to catch a hell of a lot of you, a lot younger than 56. You know, if I could have lived my life how I live now, all the way through my life, oh my God. So please come and join me on the 5th. I'm hoping this has been helpful. If you can't join me, I'm really hoping that you've gained something from this. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the 5th of November. It will probably be about an hour. I know it will. It'll be about 2 hours. So we're going to do first section learning, second section Q&A. So you're going to be able to talk, you're going to be asked questions, you can present problems that you've got, which we will deal with in real time, and I can give you strategies, because a lot of the problems that we have are dealing with the other people that are coming back to us that cause our triggers. So one of these kids going, oh, he said that, that means I'm horrible, whatever it is. So it's dealing with other people. So we'll do a Q&A, and then we will spend probably, it's 6 p.m. UK time. All of the details are in my bio. If you click on the link tree link in my bio, it's right at the top. It's at the top of that. So if you go and footle around in there, it'll take you to the events page, and all of the details are on there. But I guarantee you that you will notice a transformation. You will really feel the difference. Okay. I got distracted. I forgot what I was going to say then. Never mind. Never mind. Easy to distract me, and that's fine. Don't mind that either. Yeah, that's what it was. I didn't start learning this stuff until I was 56. And this is after I'd had a lifetime of experience. Now, the thing is, I've had a lifetime of experience. And one of the things that I did do is I lived outside of my culture for 3 years. And a lot of the things that I was doing and the things that were hurting me was me trying to change what was real. So I came into this culture with my Western ideals and, you know, oh, they should do it this way, and they should do it that way, and that's wrong, and this is wrong. And this, because it wasn't my culture. All the expats behave the same way. So I bought into that. And when I literally lived in the middle of the jungle with no expats around me and just the people who lived in that area, I realized that actually my thinking was getting in the way of what I wanted to achieve. My expectations, my dictatorial way was getting in the way of what I wanted to achieve. So I learned a hell of a lot before I even started to learn this stuff. And I think that's what sparked my interest in learning more about me and my reactions. And the fundamental thing is we need to let our shit go. All the all that, we need to let it go. And it's a process. We do it layer by layer by layer, and we do it gently. I spent 16 years on a therapist's couch. I can tell you how I got all my injuries. I can tell you exactly where they came from, what age I was when I got them. Did I have the technical skills? Was I taught the technical skills to let go of the pain and the hooks that they still had in me? No. But this stuff is very, very sweet. And what it does, okay, if I explain very quickly, if you've got a constant pattern running around in the background, I'm not good enough, 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 I'm not good enough. What we'll do is we bring that into consciousness. And this is where the fear thing is going to come in. Oh, don't look at that. That's horrible. Don't. What you need to do is let this stuff go and look at it with compassion, because that circuit will have been put in there by some damaged, hurt, frightened, abandoned, whatever the child made of it at the time that it got put in there. And what I'm going to do is, if you can imagine it as a loop, the final meditation that we do, we're going to break the loop and create a new one, so that the child inside you, they don't disappear, but the child inside you that's caused so much pain and so much fear is now in a space where it's feeling good. So it will leave you to get on with the job because it's no longer frightened. So I'm really hoping that you're going to come and join me on the 5th. I'm really, really happy that you joined me here. It is so long since I've done a TikTok live. I've forgotten all about it. I think it must be at least a year since I've done a TikTok live. And I was sort of looking forward to it and sort of wasn't. So I'm really pleased that I've done it, and that you've stayed, watched me. I really appreciate this. And I'm hoping to see you on the 5th. I'll see you on TikTok anyway, sort of say hi. I was on the live. Just make sure, make yourself known to me. And I will see you on the 5th of November. And I promise you, you will let go of a lot of your stuff. Thank you. Now I've got to work out how to stop. I've had this problem before. I've got to work out how to stop this. So if you see me sort of footling about, that's me just trying to end the live. So take care. Thank you very much indeed. I love you all.